Hey, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, that like button. Do whatever you got to do to follow me. I'd appreciate it. Today we did an interview with Asterdahl and Randy, the Loremaster from the Cryptic development team. The first couple minutes are not available because I did not hit the record button. So, yep, I'm a tech genius, everybody. So sit back, enjoy the ride, and chew on this. What what did you guys uh from your end, what was your favorite parts of the Redeemed Citadel? Did you guys go in like having like, oh, we need to introduce this new heroic encounter, or like the fight with the T3 hunt there at the end? Was there a favorite that you guys had while developing the Redeemed Citadel?
Do you want to go first, Randy, with what your favorite part is?
Oh, geez. I I think a lot of the elements were the kind of escalation to um, kind of the hunt's escalation. It was kind of neat, kind of incorporating those into the world and having the different elements layer on to kind of build towards the final hunt. I think that it was a good build towards a group fight that was exciting and incorporated well into the world. So I think that was really a good aspect of it.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of anticipation that people were wondering what's the third hunt going to be. What's that
Right.
monster going to be like? So I think that was pretty cool. But for me, I think the thing I was most enjoyed about the Redeem Citadel feature was just having that content that gets out there without a new build. Oftentimes, if we're going to add new
Yeah,
content to the game,
Yeah.
it's a new
Oh,
build, and you've got to wait for the maintenance and everything. So I think from a
true.
community perspective, I really loved seeing people. I watched them, live streaming as the changeover to the new milestone happened, and just getting excited about, I get to go check this stuff out right now. I don't have to wait for a
right,
patch.
right.
I think that was a cool feeling for the community. We just haven't been able to offer in the game before.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought that was so cool. Like I was never able to get on when the change happened, like as it happened in real time, but I always had like the first thing I did when I would log in the next day after the completion would be like, let's go find out what changed in the Redeemed Citadel. Like, what did they clean up and add like a statue here? It was the coolest thing. I loved it. And piggybacking on that, one question from Harper Steele that had what she had wanted to ask was, as the new players come in and progress through the campaign of Descent into Avernus or Path of the Fallen, right? Are they going to see changes come incrementally to the Citadel, or is it going to be it's going to look a certain way, and then once you hit the end, you complete the campaign, then boom, we have a complete
Yeah,
redeemed
yeah,
Citadel.
it's a great question. And so the way it's going to work is that if you're in the campaign for the Path of the Fallen, it's still going to be the bleeding citadel covered in scabs from far away. You won't be able to access it. It's controlled by the devils. And then when you actually complete the campaign, it's going to go to whatever the current state is for the server. So they're not going to experience the
Okay,
whole redemption arc. That was something we wanted to offer as a one-time thing for the whole server to work together. And we tried to make the story make sense so that there's a when even if you're a new player coming in a year later, there's that burst of magic. And so, you know, whether it was just restoring it partially originally for the players who got to experience the whole thing, or if you're coming in later, it's still hopefully going to feel natural. But Yeah, we didn't want people to have to play through this, a year from now when not a lot of people are focusing on it. We wanted to offer this experience that's exciting right now, and then of course they'll still be able to do, you know, they'll be able to do the hunts, the HEs. They'll be able to get Zariel's favor and purchase things from the store. They're just not going to participate in the sort of unlocking of everything and the battle
Right.
pass type feature.
That was one of the things that I liked a lot was, um, it kind of feels like it's almost like bragging rights and be like, I remember walking uphill to school both ways, in the snow kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Like people weren't there to see it, and I can just tell stories and be like, oh yeah, I remember on day 2 of the milestone,
Yeah.
the scabs went away and angels started appearing, and it's like almost mythical. And when you relate those stories to new players, I think that's really cool. And the fact that you guys are kind of incorporating that magical changeover, that's kind of cool too. Like it'll have some kind of oomph to it when they do it. That's really, really neat.
Yeah. Well, and Chris has kind of spoken to some of those elements before
Right.
about how we want to actually get that feeling of evolution of the world into our future modules, and this is a kind of a step in that direction. And it's something we want to do with our upcoming stuff as well. Is going to have that sense of change happening in the world.
And I just wanted to just really quickly, someone was asking about the divine wings for
Oh
milestone
yeah, I was
4
going to get to that in
being
a second.
reclaimable,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to let you know that we are looking into making them account reclaimable. So
Oh, there you go. See that
I
that
can't
was
can't give you a date yet, but
that was probably the number one question that I got from everybody who was responding to me was like, "Can you ask them about the wings?" And I was like, "Yes, I will ask them about the wings." So now that we got that out of the way, I don't have to ask about the wings. Um, but you were to speak to the point of the T3 hunt, right? Like I've been a long time Dungeons and Dragons fanatic. I've been playing since 1984. There were some really, really cool things that I thought, like, one of my favorite things about this game is when we hear something new is coming. I like to speculate into the actual mythos of Dungeons and Dragons. What are we going to get? What are we going to get? Was there ever a moment when you guys were developing like this Redeemed Citadel where you thought about bringing back like a Tiamat world fight, because she lives in
Yeah.
that's where she resides, right? Was that ever a possibility?
Uh,
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
well,
let
it's
the Loremaster handle this.
yeah. Tiamat Tiamat was kind of tough. Like it was one of our most challenging pieces of content to put together.
Right, right.
It was a very, very large scale piece of content. It involved like lots of players, and the staging of it. Like if you remember the original Tiamat fight, actually involves five dragon heads
Right.
coming up over a chasm and everything. So it essentially setting the arena for that type of fight is a lot of work into itself.
For sure, for
Now,
sure.
yeah, it's and it's not saying that we couldn't potentially do that, but it's basically where you're spending your development dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure,
I
for
can
sure.
talk. I can talk a little bit about that as well, since I've been handling all of the trial development since Svardborg. So Svardborg and Tower of the Mad Mage, and more recently, obviously
Zarya.
Zariel herself.
Yeah.
Um, those are building a trial like that is months and months of development.
Yeah.
For
Whereas
sure, for sure.
Night Spine was about 2 weeks. So from that perspective, we didn't really discuss Tiamat this time around because Tiamat just couldn't work in the open zone itself. It would need its own. She would need her own.
She would need her
arena and
own
stuff.
instant. Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured it was something like that. I just, from the fanboy in me, I was like, oh my god, like we're going
Totally.
into Avernus. We got
Absolutely.
Tiamat, maybe Archon the Cruel. Like there's so many different things. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, who's it
Yeah.
going to be? I think you guys did a fantastic job with that T3 hunt. Night Spine
Yeah.
is a. I've only participated in it like maybe 3 or 4 times. It's a very very rewarding and challenging trial. So congrats on that one.
I'm glad to
Um,
hear that.
but going on into like, so when we talk about the morphing, right? Like one of the big parts of the Redeemed Citadel was the milestones themselves, right? Like we had different rewards for each milestone. There was the Reforgers, was it the Reforgers box or pack that you got that kind of split the reward tiers. There was at one point I think Milestone 2 introduced a new HE, and then there was the hunts that were cleared. Did you guys, when you were developing like the leaderboard and the race to the top 100, did you foresee like the community quickly finding the efficient ways to farm the favors?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's nothing that an MMO community does
Right,
better
that
than fill in the crack. The water runs to the crack immediately. So we definitely knew that everyone was going to find the most efficient path, and I think like with the BHEs in Milestone One, we knew, we tried to do internal playtesting to try to balance out quests versus the BHEs, but the reality is we're a pretty small team. We can't really emulate what it's going to be like when it goes live.
for
So
sure.
we were under the impression that BHEs would probably be the thing people were doing, and we were right. So we tried to get some data and buff up the quests, and I think we put them in a better spot. And then, of course, obviously, you've got Milestone 4. People who were saving their hunt lures so
Or
they could
yeah,
just
yeah,
maximize their Zariel's favor during the last milestone. That's something we definitely knew about, and we discussed, um, like, should we increase the amount of Zariel's favor the server has to earn so that this milestone takes about the same time as the previous milestone, despite all the hoarding? And we really, decided that why not let people have fun with the fact that they did all this hoarding and just blow through
right,
that
right.
milestone. So,
Yeah.
we were okay with that last milestone being a sprint to the top. So,
It
Yeah.
was really fun to watch. We were on like a countdown. Um, like between milestone 3 and milestone 4, I myself and a group of friends, we started hoarding. Like we started planning to run it. I had a family issue came up, so I wasn't able to participate in the first couple days of the milestone 4. But like I was constantly receiving updates from friends going, "Oh my God, we're at 25%, and it's only been 2 hours." Like that was really really neat to see. Um, are there plans to introduce some stuff like that? I know we're not talking about like mods, but with the success or non-success, if like depending on where you look at things, because the leaderboard has been a very divisive topic in a lot of my circles that I run with. There's a lot of people who are like, no, it wasn't fair. They did this, yada yada yada. I congratulate everybody who participated and farmed and worked out trades, and were able to complete that milestone in like 36 hours, I think it was, right? Like people were staying up, yeah, yeah, for hours upon hours, like doing this stuff. um do you guys feel like that was a success and something that you can do in future content? Are there plans to introduce something like the Redeemed Citadel going
I can
forward
let you,
in different things?
if you want to go first, Randy.
Sure. Yeah, like we're definitely looking at what we did for the Redeemed Citadel when we look at future content. I think we'd be foolish not to. I think there was a great level of community engagement, and really we just kind of have to look at the response, the player response, look at the data, in terms of like how we put things together and how the players responded to certain elements of that, and see if this is something that we want to there's things we did right, there's things we did wrong, and we just want to figure out how that kind of fits into future content, right? Like if there's a call, if it fits appropriately, we're probably gonna do something like this. But every piece of content we kind of have, every module development, we have to look at what's appropriate for what we're trying to develop. So
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the leaderboards, I can talk about that a little bit. It was definitely an intentional. So the feature as a whole is very cooperative. The servers working together, but we knew that there might be some sort of like lethargy element by like everyone else is doing it, so I'll just let them finish it and
Right.
I'll just
Right. Right.
the rewards and we're done. So we wanted to do something. I wanted to do something with the feature that kind of added that sort of friendly competition that got people who are really hardcore excited about progressing quickly. So that was sort of the genesis of the leaderboard. But I think players have rightly noticed that it was very competitive, and
Yeah.
only 100 people
totally.
got anything, and there's that hard cutoff. So something I wanted to do, but we just didn't have time to implement, was just have a bit more of a staggered reward structure. So if we were to do something like the leaderboard again, you could imagine that we might have the top 100, get that thing, but then maybe the next
The
you know
next
certain
group of
amount of
people.
people
Oh,
get some other smaller thing.
yeah, kind of like a
So
Yeah.
tiered reward almost, right? Like top 100
Yep.
gets this, next 20 or whatever the number may be. You guys did really well. You didn't get the top, but here's something for you as well.
yeah, so
Um,
I think you could imagine that we might try to implement something like that if we did the leaderboard again. But then
that's neat.
in terms of bringing this feature back, I think you'll probably see something like this in the future. But you could also see parts of it, appearing, by themselves. You could see
Mhm.
something like this without maybe the Reforger's blessing. That's just the content, or you could see a Reforger's blessing stitched on top of a more traditional campaign. So
Oh,
it's
right.
not that we're going to do this exact thing again necessarily, but you might see something close to it, or you might see pieces of it reappearing as we have the availability to add them.
Very well. That's awesome. Were you guys as surprised as some of us were about the swiftness of the last milestone being completed? As fast as it
Um,
was?
I talked about this a little bit earlier. We knew Milestone 4 was going to go fast. Um, we all, would enjoy each milestone sort of betting about how many
Yeah,
days it was
that's,
going to
that's
take.
what we,
Yeah.
that's what
It's
we
like
were doing. We were
eternal
taking
betting.
bets. Yeah, we were like, no, dude, I'll give you, a stack of black pearls if it finishes that. Like, we were actually talking about that kind of wagering stuff. So,
Uh,
So yeah, it's always a fun thing. But personally, I thought PC was going to take maybe a day longer than it did, so it was actually reasonably faster than I expected. There was a it was not the amount of hoarding that surprised me, but just the speed through which the whole community spent. I
right,
imagined that once the first 100 people kind of clearly pulled ahead, we wouldn't have seen as much quick burning through the hunt trophies at the lower levels, but it happened pretty fast. But it wasn't like we were expecting that to take 2 weeks, and it only
right,
it only
right,
took
right.
so.
Yeah. So it was just slightly faster than everybody expected. I think I had put it at 3 days. I was like, 3 days. I topped it 3 days, and I was pleasantly surprised that it
yeah.
went
I
faster
mean,
than it was.
well, a big part of that is I think with the cool aspects about it is about the community kind of coming together and guilds coming together and going, hey, this is our attack plan in order to just grind through Milestone 4 really quickly. And we saw that and we were like, great, do it. That's it's what it's there for, right? It's in your hands. So it's just really cool to see that type of community interaction, right? And involvement in stuff like this.
So we talked about your favorite parts, right? Like your favorite parts, and this is where we're gonna put you guys on the spot. Was there anything with the Redeemed Citadel that you wish you would have done differently, or that you didn't necessarily? I don't want to say hate, but liked a lot less than other parts while you were working.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so I talked a little bit about the leaderboard, and definitely I didn't hate it, but I think we knew going out of the gate that it was a little bit aggressive to only offer those top 100 people rewards. But like I said, we just didn't have the bandwidth to
Yeah,
support
to support bigger.
expanding that out this time. So that was something I wish we could have done a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then of course, in terms of because we're a small studio and we just can't do as much internal playtesting, and this was something where we didn't want to put this on preview because we
Oh,
wanted
that's
people to
right.
be
This didn't go to preview, right?
yeah. Yeah, so this was our first time, in a long time putting content on live that didn't go to preview. So that was a little bit challenging in its own. But, one element of that is we didn't really get the chance to balance the numbers early on as well as we could have for Zariel's favor payouts. So that was
Yeah.
something where, I wish we could have done that better. But I think we did pretty well considering it. We didn't want to go to preview because I think that would have really sucked some of the wind out of the sails for how
Oh, for
exciting
sure,
it.
for sure.
So
Yeah. Agreed.
Lots of questions coming in about the companion. Um, I don't know if you guys can speak to that. I guess it's not reclaimable or something.
I'm not sure which companion
Let me see
I
if
missed the comment.
I see someone asking about the promissory note to collect the
Oh
redeemed
yeah,
fallen companion.
the redeemed fallen companion. People are asking about. I don't have it, so I don't.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's in the collection. The one that's in the collection. That's not. showing up, right? No one's seen the redeemed fallen companion that is showing up currently on the collections in game, but no one's been able to locate, find, or get it otherwise. Is that are you
Yeah,
guys
I'm not. I hadn't heard of this before, but I'm gonna take a. I'll definitely take that away and take a look. It's possible that occasionally something slips out into collections that shouldn't be there.
okay?
For instance, and everybody knew about the wings mount, months ahead of
Oh
time.
yeah.
That was the big question with where was that, where that's when's that coming, when's that coming, and I really didn't want to spoil it, but people knew it was coming, so but occasionally there's just something that makes it in there that
All
was
right.
never meant to go live in general. So I'll take a look and we'll add a patch note when we get the fix in, whether that's that it's supposed to be available somewhere or whether that was just an old development asset that just shouldn't have been there. So
Very good.
Good call out.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks. Thanks. I didn't. I read all the lore, but I don't oftentimes go into the collections, which I should probably do a little bit more. I often get called out because I don't know every aspect of the game that I play, like 70 hours a week, because I play it differently than everybody else plays it. So that was new to me too. I didn't know that wasn't. Okay, for the most part, have you guys been receiving lots of positive feedback, or have you guys been kind of 50-50? Everything that I see has been the majority positive.
I'll let you go first, Randy.
Yeah, no, I think overall the response has been really good. And I think a big part of that is it was pretty clean implementation. There weren't too many issues when it went live, and that's what we're generally trying to strive towards, just better quality releases like that. And I think it also helps that we really tried to do as much internal testing as we could to just make sure everything was solid, and I think that's reflected in the quality of the release. And I'm yeah, the response has been really good to it. I think I've seen players asking, when's the next one going to be? So I think it is something that we essentially want to put in our back development pocket, so to speak, for future modules, just because of that level of player engagement and enjoyment. So
Yeah, I would say that the feedback has been mostly positive from what I've seen. Obviously, you pointed out that the leaderboard was a little bit contentious for reasons we had talked about. I think one thing that really helped with the leaderboard, and I absolutely wanted to make sure was true, was that none of the rewards from the leaderboard were exclusive, like in terms of what they actually do. So that's why we offered a way to buy alternate versions of all of those
Right.
leaderboard rewards in the Zen market, because I think at the end of the day, that let themselves off the hook. If they really wanted those wings and they knew they weren't going to get into the top 100, or it was going to like destroy their life to invest that amount of time, you could just take a step back and say, okay, this isn't for me this time. I'm just going to grab those wings. So that was a big important part of that. And then I think early on, just in terms of people understanding how the Reforger's Blessing works, that was a little bit of a hairy period. It's something we had never done before, so everyone wanted to know how it works and what the rules are, and we spent a lot of time talking about how much information we wanted to pack into the UI. Um, in the end of the day, if the UI is overwhelming with all its information, it's gonna be too much. So we had to decide, what's actually gonna be in there, and then what questions are we just gonna answer once it goes live. And so I think in the next time we do something like this, it'll be a lot more straightforward. The community will already have those answers for those questions. So
For sure.
yeah,
We have a 3-time champ Mordecai in the chat has asked about possibly to get more engagement from the community. Have you guys considered starting those kind of events like on the weekend, or is it planned? Oh, well, there's Julia. But if you guys would like to speak to that as well, he was wondering if there was any plans to start it like closer to the weekend so more people could participate.
yeah.
well, so in terms of you mean like beginning the next milestone, as opposed to the usual Tuesday starting time. um it's it's definitely something we definitely have discussed it before. I mean, one of the risks with putting something out, on a Friday is everybody's gone home for the weekend, or they're not really working at that point. So if there are any major issues that we need to resolve,
Right.
that's a lot more difficult to get those issues fixed really quickly. And especially with a feature that we're not putting on the preview server, it's a lot more challenging.
For sure.
But it's if we have enough feedback on it, it's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. So
Porthos asks about are the blessed weapons going to be available inside of the campaign store, or is there any way to get them other than having them as rewards for the event?
yeah, absolutely. So I believe you can have been able to buy the base blessed weapon in the store
Since
since
Mod,
milestone 1.
that 1 or 2, right? Okay.
Since the end of milestone 1 or the beginning of milestone 2. So but in terms of upgrading them, expect all the materials to be available um, at some point in the store. I think we've been releasing them at the next stage each time. So if you needed a material from milestone 2, once milestone 3 starts, it usually goes to the store. So you should expect all those materials to be available at some point. Yeah.
I have a question regarding the aggro mechanics for the T3 hunt. It appears that Norissimo asks, the T3 hunt ignores the aggro. Is it planned or is that an accidental feature?
Um, so it's not exactly the case that he 100% ignores aggro. Nightspine he still has an aggro table, and he still will try to pursue his aggro target and use his basic attacks on them. But we have a couple different ways of approaching monster design. Sometimes we'll design a monster that's a very explicit, strict, it attacks only the tank with its general attacks, and it has a set rotation of moves it goes through. But when we design a large monster in that sort of open world style, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex or the King of Spines in previous modules, we try to make their behavior a bit more deterministic, where they'll choose to use their tail whip if things are behind them, or they'll choose to attack an enemy at range randomly who might be providing an additional threat. So there is an aggro table there, but he will often choose to attack other people, and that's to just keep everybody on their toes and make the fight more engaging.
Make the engaging more interesting.
Yeah.
Naboo990 is asking about the companion ring from the Redeemed Citadel, which gives combat advantage 13k. It has an offensive and defensive slot, unlike other single stat offensive companion rings, which give 2 offensive slot. Was that planned, or is that also what they would?
I didn't work on the rewards directly myself, but I will definitely sync up with our rewards designer and make sure she knows. And if it is a bug, we'll have a fix out.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Golly, man, I went through all my questions. I don't know. I in my head this went for like 4 days. But I'm very excited for the future of things like this with the Redeemed Citadel. I want to thank you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, you had sent some original notes over about things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You didn't mention anything about the Aasimar or.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. There. Yeah. Like so. With the Aasimar race, is that like so? You had the Reforgers box, right? And then you would complete each milestone 1 through 4, and then at the end of it, you have the ability to get the Aasimar race unlocked. Is that going to be a Zen purchasable race, or will future players be able to kind of do some kind of unlock by playing as well?
Yeah, I can take this. This has been a popular question that we haven't answered yet. So
yeah.
yeah, the Aasimar, right now you had to have bought the Reforger's Blessings in order to unlock the Aasimar. Since that was something that people had to work for in the moment, we're not going to be offering it an alternate way to obtain the Aasimar anytime soon.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we'll never offer away. You can probably expect that at some point, but we want to give it plenty of time to be exclusive to those people who worked for it during that time period. And then because it's already a premium race, I would expect that at the once we introduce that as something that's more available, it's most likely going to be a purchased. It's going to be something you're going to purchase.
Right.
Maybe much further down the road, we might have some kind of a free version of that, but for now, it's going to be a premium race.
All right. Jane has a question regarding the T3 hunt as well, and it involves the rewards for it, right? Like, so it's a large scale fight that takes more than uh, 5 people to do, but currently the rewards are for the 5 members of the core party. Are there plans to offer some optional reward or alternative reward for groups of players that come in to help the core party finish off that T3?
Yeah, I can talk about this. So there's sort of two parts here. One is that the hunt system inherently is not, we want to avoid making the hunts basically heroic encounters. We don't want to create a situation where people are just going to spawn hunts and then everybody's going to swarm them like it's a heroic encounter. We want this to be something where people are organizing. They're working out that I have this lure and you have that lure, and so we're going to do it twice and get the rewards for the 2 people who are there, or work with getting their guild to come and help them. So we don't want to incentivize too strongly just sort of like this big Zerg mentality of just everybody doing them like the heroic encounters. That's one element of it, but the second element is also sort of just in terms of like limitations on our the way our engine is built about parties, and there isn't the idea of making like an alliance of parties outside of doing 10-man content. So we just wouldn't have the ability to do roles across multiple groups right now. So it's definitely something that we know people don't can stress about a little bit with the T3 hunts being designed for more than 5 players. So we do hear the feedback, and it's possible we might consider try to get somewhere in between those 2 places in the future, but we don't want to incentivize them like heroic encounters, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Let's see. Any other questions? Juicy. All right. So yeah, one question that is always on my mind that someone brought up uh, is: was there any kind of moments when you were doing the development of the Redeemed Citadel that was like you found something accidentally or something just hilariously happened to be almost like kismet and be incorporated into the release, like uh, kind of like a blooper type moment? Was there anything that was just like, oh, holy cow, we should do that totally? Like, was there like any kind of like accidents that happened in the Redeemed Citadel that made it into the
Uh,
live version?
yeah, absolutely. So the one thing I can kind of think of is if anybody's fought Aoki, the tier 1 hunt. She has a mechanic where she kind of pulls you into this like quicksand, this like magical gate opens up under the ground and pulls you down. Um, that was actually kind of the result of a bug, not while we were developing the Redeemed Citadel, but uh, a couple of modules ago. There was a bug with one of the animations that was just forcing the character into the ground, and I had the idea like, let's use that to do some kind of a quicksand mechanic in the future. So Aoki represented this sort of first opportunity to kind of get that into the game as a mechanic. So
Oh, that's cool. I love hearing things like that, like where just something serendipitously happens that you're like, we should totally put that into the game. Um,
yeah,
what do we got? So some of the rewards from the actual milestones, right, were chosen to be moved to like a Zen store purchase, and some of them were designed to go into the campaign store. Was that intended to, I don't know, balance auction house stuff? I don't do the AD farm like most people do, so I don't know so much about auction houses. But I know there was a lot of questions regarding like the decision to move certain things to the auction house, but not others, and vice versa.
Yeah. So we wanted to offer with the Redeem Citadel plenty of stuff to just earn through the gameplay, not just a bunch of stuff to buy in the Zen market, obviously. So we wanted there to be something to spend your Zariel's favor on, and so that was kind of where we started. What are those things that we're going to offer in game to begin with, and then the things that we wanted to offer in the Zen market. I think more or less that just came down to offering an alternate way to get those leaderboard rewards. So
For sure.
we wanted to, I think it would have been pretty ill received by the people who won the leaderboard if people could just go earn alternate versions of those in game,
Right,
kind of
right.
very casually. So that was something where we were like, okay, these are going to be things we're going to put in the Zen market, so that there can be that exclusivity and that that feeling of reward for those people who did earn the leaderboard rewards.
Yeah, I've been advocating for I talk about a lot about it on my stream where the question comes up about the top 100 rewards, right? Like um and you had spoken to the fact that you were looking at trying to incorporate an account wide version of it. I am a fan of the fact that there's only 100 Zariels in the game, right? I'm a fan of there's only 100s of the special wings. Not that I don't want them to have like the Zen purchases of it, right? Like, but I'm a big fan of that kind of exclusivity, bragging rights to be like, yep, I finished in the top 100 and I got Zariel. You have a Citadel, which is cool, but I have a Zariel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Zariel especially, that's such an important character that we
Right.
really probably wouldn't have been able to introduce her as a companion, just broadly available, the way we could with a more generic character.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like you were going to say something there. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just
Just
agreeing.
Okay. Yeah. 80 Dark Bob asks if there's any plans, and this is kind of near and dear to my heart too, because I love driving around the wastes in my little car. Is there going to be any appearance change available to the War Machine in the future that you drive around with?
This is the wastes, the thing you drive in the wastes.
Yeah, the one that you use to navigate between zones.
Yeah. So because I think moving forward, we're going to be, introducing some new areas, and we won't necessarily be bringing that forward. There's no plans at the moment, but that doesn't mean, especially as we get away from this module, if people like really liked the War Machine and the driving mechanics, let us know, and we'll try
Yeah.
to, you might see something like that come up again, and then if people really love it, like that's when we'll start investing into
Right.
offering those
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
things like that.
That's a.
Yeah.
I love that answer. I love because one of my favorite there's I don't know if it's intended, but oftentimes when I jump into my car and I hit like my shift button accidentally when I'm going in instead of my F button, I can do like a drifting, like a too fast, too furious drift
Sure.
around corners and stuff. Like I love trying to do that so I can just drive around funny.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I didn't work directly on that mechanic, but I know the designers who worked on that, and the rest of the team had a lot of fun, and we enjoyed testing it. So, it's always a balance with something like that. What level of quality can we get that new feature to? With the time that we have. Obviously, we're not going to make Forza, so we're not making
Right.
an amazing racing game. It just doesn't. Our engine doesn't support that sort of mechanics, but I think we were able to make something pretty fun, and hopefully people can enjoy having that variety, and just like change of pace from the normal gameplay.
Speaking from experience, I was really skeptical about it when I saw it. I was like, "Oh man!" And I participated in the testing of it on the previews, and I was like, "Oh!" Like I remember the first day I logged in, like my tires were all like oval shaped, so I was like jumping up and down when I went. But as it released into live, it's actually one of my favorite things to do for like I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. I'll just run around and jump the ramps. I got two more questions for you, and then I'll cut you guys loose because I know it's getting late for you guys too. Jane asks again, it was a totally new original. Was there anything that changed strongly from initial conception of Redeemed Citadel to the actual iteration of the game? Was there like a certain setting, a fight, encounter, anything that you guys had set up a certain way at the beginning, or the thought process to when you actually implemented it into the game?
Yeah. I can feel that question. So it's almost a disappointing answer because when something like this goes really well and the planning goes really well, that's when you get the most boring answer. But
Right,
ultimately,
right.
we didn't change anything uh, too dramatically. I think the sort of the biggest thing that we changed, and it's probably not going to seem all that big, but originally we planned to have the quests, the number of repeatable quests available, adding new ones with each milestone. But we ended up choosing to just have them all be available from the start, because we felt like
Oh,
people are just going to appreciate having more variety, to grind on right away rather than having to just sort of grind on the same 4 quests until milestone 2 came out. And then, so we didn't really think we could offer, such a huge variety that it was going to feel good to have us unlocking over the different milestones. So we offered them all right at the beginning. But other than that, nothing changed too dramatically. We didn't cut any, we didn't have a plan for a whole dungeon or anything that we cut, or,
Yeah.
an HE. We got the number of HEs we thought we were going to get. So I think it was good planning all around, which ultimately makes for a boring answer.
Yeah.
right,
Went
right.
surprisingly smooth.
Yeah, like I'm glad that you guys made that choice to have the all of the repeatables available. I think that was a great move. And then we have a question from Rachel Penn's fan. This will be the last one I ask you guys, unless you have anything else you want to speak to. I really appreciate you guys spending your time with me.
Thanks for
But
having us.
Rachel
Yeah.
Penn's fan asks if there was anything that you feel the team feels didn't work as planned or intended overall. Was there a moment at the end of it when you went, I really wish that worked different? We may have touched on it a little bit earlier, but if there was anything that didn't work like you guys wanted.
Um, I think, and this is from the larger, design side. I know there were, as much as everyone liked the cars, there was a lot of issues getting them working the way that they play right now. And we're not even 100%, happy with the cars as a whole. But there was a lot of investment costs in trying to get them working right, just because our game wasn't really built to like handle that kind of situation. But in the end, they turned out pretty good. But again, there was a bit of a cost involved with that.
Right.
Yeah, and then I can talk about something with the Redeemed Citadel. So longtime players who did the hunts in Chult may remember the sort of the way that the rare spawns would appear
Yeah. Yeah.
mechanically, functionally was different than the way they do in Avernus. In Avernus, they're sort of, as you kill enemies in the area, they may or may not appear at various locations. Whereas in Chult, when you killed a pack of enemies, of that type, there was a chance when they respawned that they would
They would be
respawn as
respawn as well.
as a rare spawn. I Going into Avernus, we had already sort of done a lot of the foundational work before we sort of decided we were going to have the hunt system on top of that with the Redeemed Citadel. So the content designers who worked on it had already set up the encounters in a certain way. It didn't allow us to implement the rare spawns in the way that they worked in Schultz. And that led to, I think, a lot of confusion right when the module launched, when Redeem Citadel eventually launched. People expected the rare spawns to work the way they did in Schultz.
Yeah.
And as a result, I think there was a lot of tension and confusion.
Right. Okay.
And ultimately, I think that the end result is still that I think that Schultz rare spawns worked better, just because of the way the zone was set up. So that was an unfortunate sort of just consequence of the way that we planned those 2 features together. So I think in the future, if we were going to do this kind of open world hunts again, we would probably try to replicate the way that Schultz rare spawns worked, more so than these.
Fantastic. That's like I said, I am very excited about what you guys did with the Redeemed Citadel. I look forward to more. Can you guys give us like a little leak on what the next like with the no? All right. No, all right, I get you. I'll take the company line on that one.
I can just taunt you all that as soon as we'll wrap up this conversation, I'm back to working on the unannounced class.
Oh
So
yeah, there. Oh yes, the unannounced. Yeah, that's not going to prompt any kind of discussion after this. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Well, Randy and
Yeah.
Asterdahl, thank
Yeah.
you guys so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with us. I really appreciate it. I hope that the community appreciates it. I look forward to all of the work you guys do in the future.
thank you
Yeah.
for having us, and thanks to everybody who played through the Redeemed Citadel and gave us feedback, whether it was negative feedback, positive feedback. We're always happy to see it, and we were so excited to see how much the community really enjoyed some of the elements, and we hope we can offer something like this for you guys in the future. So thanks everyone for playing.
Yeah, we really appreciate all everyone's feedback on everything, and we're doing what we can to try and improve the game however we can. We appreciate your feedback on across the board. So thank you for being Neverwinter players.